Alright, let's imagine for a second that Planet Zoo's support is ending this year. That is going to leave us with 2 more DLCs, which at the end of the day is very much sad, but a great chance to end this game on a high. In today's video we are going to do a fun little theory. What if the next 2 DLCs will actually save the game and make it the most complete game? So I have outlined both free updates and both DLCs in my mind that will come in the next, well, 6 months. So that will define the future and potentially also the final end of Planet Zoo as a game. Now, I've really put a lot of effort into it, so it's not just my idea, it's very much what is realistic. You know, I tried to really stretch out the possibilities of what is the framework of Planet Zoo, what is realistic in terms of what the developers can do, and what is realistic in terms of what we can get. Also, looking into the future of modding. More about that when it matters. Let's start with the update 1.15, which shouldn't be too far away. We are going to start with a couple of new items that will be added to the game, and I'm going to explain along the way what exactly I mean by that. So, new items. The first one is the underwater feeding enrichment ice block and treaty box. Now, if you've watched my series, you know that I've been complaining about this and that we don't really have any real underwater enrichment items for our underwater animals, such like otters and you know, the different types of seals and stuff. So there are some things already in the game, like the block of ice, and we could also have like a treaty box that is similar to the subway tool thingy, in which I can swim there and just, you know, go against it, and then there's like a treaty coming out that they're catching with their mouse. Done. Then we've got an underwater concrete set. Because I felt like this is missing from the game, maybe a bit of, you know, weathered and with a bit of grunge to it. That would be nice. A new fences set, so to say. I really think we do lack some fences. And also, by the way, let me just click on some of the images so you can compare what I mean by that. We've got a new plants, underwater moss set and park gardener set, which is just a couple of new plants. You know, we always get for a free update some really cool plants, and I really hope that this time around this won't be any trees, but actually some really good gardening plants. You know, also best way possible would be flexicolor, and the last thing would be decoration boulder set, maybe a set of 6 to 7 of these boulders. As you can see in the right picture, they are much smaller than what the actual boulders in games are, but they are so much nicer in terms of the texture than, for example, the faux rocks. So I really would love to see them. Now let's go into new features, and that's where things are getting a bit more spicy. So the first thing would be a tank entrance platform, so staff entrance for water areas. You'll see why in a second, but I think it's very important to have that finally in game to really make, like, you know, seal habitats more functioning, and that would be very amazing. But speaking of, I think finally we need a multiple gate option. That means we can have up to 3 gates to our habitats. It should be something in the coding, but maybe 3 gates would work. Let it be 2 gates, I'd be fine with 2 gates already, but I defined this as 3 gates. I think if they crack the code that they can do 2 gates, why can't they do 3 gates, right? Then we have the underwater tunnel, something that I wished to have for such a long time, and also that already works with a little glitch. So why not have the underwater tunnel path thing? And I imagine this being a new type of path that basically disables the constraints of going into water, and then it basically disables the shader in a certain area around the path. So just as we have a safe zone for the path anyways, it could easily have a safe zone that is like 250 high and goes like a square around the pathing, depending on how wide you make the path. And it does also come with a null variant that does have a outline around it, so you know exactly where the water shader will be disabled. And it also works like pretty much like a barrier in the water, so that you still have to maintain a, you know, depending on what animal you have in, a 4-meter or 2-meter of size between the highest point of the tunnel and the water surface, so to say, to make sure that they can still dive above it. Otherwise, that makes no sense. Then we have a stuff diving ability to clean pools and refill underwater feeders. I imagine that they will change on spot, like in Sims. You know, they just jump up, turn around, and then have their diving rig to them, and they jump into water and clean the water. It doesn't have to be like a fancy animation, just, give us the idea. And then we have the training ability for keepers. That means they can train your animals with a very simple animation. That doesn't have to be something very elaborate. It has to be something that makes sense, that looks nice, that is something that you can grasp as if this is an animation. And it will increase the value of your animals and also unlock a set of animation. And I imagine that just like enrichment items have to be unlocked, the dedicated animations have to be unlocked too. So you can have unlocked, for example, the cardbox feeder for the sandcat, but the sandcat can yet not play with it in a proper way because they haven't learned it. So you have to have your keeper that has the ability to train them, adding a little bit of a new game mechanic in here with the given sets already. But for those of you watching this video, you will potentially already know what this is hinting at. The next DLC is going to be, also some images of what I've just talked about, is going to be, drum roll please, the full aquatic DLC. I think this comes with no surprise, but before I'm going to unlock the animals that I have decided for, and that was a very hard decision, I'm going to explain why I chose which animal. But I gotta have to say, I thought super long about it. And I think the reason why I took this one for the first of the 2 DLCs is pretty simple. I think they will still need to have some time to iron out some of the possible issues that will come with it. So I'll give them like a full circle till the next DLC to iron out some of the glitches and bugs that will potentially come with it. But it is going to be a full mechanic for full aquatic animals, and that's also obviously why all the changes have been made to the free update with the water accessibility gate and the divers and the underwater enrichment items. That brings us to the roster of animals, which is the bottlenose dolphin, the manta ray, the manatee, the black sea bass, and exotic fish pools as a walkthrough exhibit. Now, let me explain real quick, and this is a very specific choice. Let's start with the first one, which is pretty much because it's my favorite animal. It's the only one of this list that has not a specific reason other than that I love this animal. I have already talked about this a million times, how I imagine this could be brought into the game. And this would also be the scenario for this DLC. You know, every DLC comes with a scenario, and the scenario will be that you have to take over a lagoon in which the animals live, and then you have to get the animals, make them happy, but you can't move them out of the lagoon. You have to create something with the lagoon, like for example different pools or whatnot, and then you have to bring people in to pay the bill for making for curing the animals living in the lagoon, and then you have to set them back into the wild, and there is a specific limit to how many you have to put into the wild, and it's going to be a timed scenario. I find this a very good introduction, and they obviously will have a ridiculous demand for size. Then we've got the manta ray. I just love it, and I think with the tunnel that could be a very cool element to have it swimming over your head. Then we've got the manatee. I think it's a fan favorite. It's endangered. It's something that people love to see in a zoo. I think it's very clumsy in a way, but it's also pretty cute. It can have a very nice animation with the glass windows, for example. So there's a lot of things to love about this animal. And now with my special choice, the black sea bass. And I have to say, this is a very much specific choice because of the future of the game. I think we need to have some fish, but we also need to have some flexible fish in terms of what the modders can do with it. And we just need a fish rig. And that's why I chose this one, because it's also relatively big. I thought it can go better into like a big mixed habitat with some other animals, and this is why I chose that one. And also because it looks kind of badass, I guess. I think it's just looking cool. But yeah, now let's go into the items. Now I have gone for 150 items because I need to talk about the exotic fish pools first. Now, this is the reason I reduced the items by 100. Normally we have around 250 items. To opt for the exotic fish pools, I unlocked the item list, so to give you reasoning. I would find it absolutely cool if we have something similar as with the butterflies, that this walkthrough exhibit species comes with different variants to it, so that we have some pools that you can change the enrichment items within the menu of the walkthrough exhibits, and then you get different pools, and each pool can hold, for example, a different species, and you can have up to 5 pools, and you can alter the positioning of these pools. I think this would be really cool, and it could also come with a specific path change that with every pool you add, people can actually get close to the pool. I think that would be beautiful. Now, let's get to the items real quick. They are very simple, but they have a pretty good reasoning behind them. So extended for rock set, I think is like a given, because we need more for the aquariums to make them look good. We need an aquarium wall and floor set, giving us a bit more of a proper like rubber ground, and maybe some good lights and stuff like that would be really good. Then we've got a seaweed mix, because we don't really have that too much in the game anyways, so that would be good. Then we've got a glass and pole set, which basically goes into making custom windows, custom glass panels, whatever. Then we've got variants of sunshades, because like aquariums always have sunshades to cool the water, to make things look good to the inside and outside. I think it's just a given, and we need better ones in game. Then we've got the underwater grunge decal set. This is basically a decal set with grunge. As you can see to the right hand side with the manatee, there's a couple of things in the water which I think would be really lovely to have that. And then we also have the fish swarm VFX set. Well, imagine you get all these animals. Imagine you do like what I think the first thing that people will do is like a crazy pool with a tunnel going through, and then have a lot of dolphins, like manta rays, manatees and stuff in that one, making them swim around. It'll still look super empty because you don't have fish in there, like small fish. And I do get it potentially wouldn't be too nice to have them in, because there is no swarming mechanism in the game anyways. I mean, we don't even have proper herding, so I assume we won't get proper swarming. Is that even a word? I don't know. So that makes no sense. But one way to solve that would be to give us a fish swarm VFX set with like 6 to 7 different swarms, and then you can plot them down, and it looks a lot more crowded. You have a bit more control over this to decide where that is, and well, I think that's just the easiest way of doing it. Now this is the next one, which would be somewhere around the next weeks, and I think this would give a huge hype to the game, to make people come back to the game, buy it, test it, whatever, and I would feel like this could be one of my favorite DLCs. Now let's go further into the next free update, which is the update 1.16. That's gonna be the one around Christmas, and now it's getting really spicy. This, in my book, is the last DLC, the last update, the last free update for Planet Zoo. Let that sink in for a moment and make yourself ready for what is going to be unlocked now. First of all, new items. Netting piece set. Stop here, don't get too excited. I'm just going to do some expectation management here. Don't get too excited. I will explain in a bit why I chose for that. Now, netting pieces in the game. We got some netting pieces with the walkthrough exhibit updates, but they are useless because they're like way too fine and you can't look through, and we don't have proper netting pieces in the game. Full stop, we don't have, and we just need a netting piece set. Not only for birds or whatnot. We need that for a million different reasons. How many, for example, big cats are held in huge exhibits that have a proper netting above them? We can't really do that. I mean, we can, like Haribo can, for example, or Lighter, but they're abusing pieces in the game to make your CPU cry when they just think about it. Now, this is that. But then we also have a perch point set. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'll come to that in a second because there's going to be a change to the walkthrough exhibit. But I feel like we don't really have proper perching points for example, for just implied habitats, but also for like let's say we don't even have the pieces that we had for I forgot the word. Dang it! One of the walkthrough exhibit animals, the first one we got. I forgot the name. I'm just a bad person. But you'll see in a second. Then we've got the Vent set, or basically the Vent seasons. It's a bit weird because of English and French mix here. It's a brand that used to be already in Planet Coaster, so it's one of the in-game brands, just like, for example, Just a Momento. For those of you who haven't played Planet Coaster, there are so many more brands that you don't know of. There's, for example, like a Mexican brand which goes along with the how's it called again, the mascot. So there's a lot of cool stuff in the Planet Coaster genre in terms of brands, and L'Avancet or L'Avancis, oh my god, has been actually a restaurant, but I thought it could be like cool of a seasons thing. I'm gonna explain why in a second. Then we have a classic zoo tree set. I'm not even talking about proper trees as like a growing tree, but also like dead trees that are used for climbing. And we've got 6 flexible rope enrichment item pieces. I'm going to talk about that in a second. First of all, let's unlock the images so you have a better idea about that. And now let's go into the big feature list. Again, this is the last update to the game, and it will come with a lot of things. Now, first of all, it will come with the rope climbing mechanic. What do I mean by that? It's pretty simple. It's a preset of animations to a rope climbing. I imagine this being you put down one pole and then you put down another pole and you decide which height both of the poles have, and then there's going to be a rope between that. And you get 6 different variants of it, 3 thicker ones and 3 thinner ones, and then with different styles. And then maybe you've got horizontal and vertical ones, for example, and maybe a connection piece. So that's that. This is why it's 6, you know. Each of the thickness levels will get or maybe it would be even better to have 3 thickness levels, and then you've got a horizontal and a vertical one, which you connect with the points. And that would be a new mechanic, but I think this would be better to make sure that animals do proper climbing. And you'll see in the list, for example, at the last point, why. But first of all, the next one is guest will change clothing on spot if temperature drops or raises above 9 and 19 degrees. Why did I, Celsius, by the way, why did I choose for that? Well, I think, you know, changing ones is a bit heavy because, I mean, it would be enough, but it would be a bit heavy if you change, like, for example, 15 degrees, and after that, you know, shorts and shirt would be crazy too, and then go to the full winter gear would also be weird. So I thought 2 times would be nice. So let's say with 19 degrees plus, they will go into full summer outfit. Below that, they will have like an average up, you know, something with like a jacket or so, and below 9 they will always feature long clothing, including gloves and beanies. Then we will have a change that guests will gain heat bonuses from items that they do buy in the Vasis, that will give you access to, for example, beanies and sunscreen and whatnot, so that they can actually have a better time in summer or in winter. Then we also have the walkthrough exhibit cleaning animation added to the keepers. So as we have the animation where they just wipe the windows of the small exhibits, I imagine we have one over here. They can, you know, let them do the pooving, I don't care, but just an animation that makes sure they clean it. Then we've got the null loops added to the walkthrough exhibits. Do you remember the perch points I mentioned above here? Well, this is why. We all have been a little bit annoyed by, for example, the butterflies where they do fly, and then you still have these things. Even if you disable all the perch points and all the different things, they still have some basic ones to make them fly there. And you can't really put a tree in there or anything else. You can't really make this little hut that they have in a way. And so, by the way, the animal I was not getting the name was the bat, the fruit bat. So, example, for the fruit bat, we can't change the perching points. So how about make them null and just give us an outline where they are, and then you can build yourself. So then we also have null loops added to the walkthrough exhibits, which is basically the same as we just talked about. And then we can walkthrough exhibits can be combined to a max of 4, creating a new fixed path layout each, 3 variants available, and new loops for each existing walkthrough animal. So we don't really have that walkthrough exhibit animals as of now. We've got the thros, we've got the butterflies, and the fruit bat. If I'm not completely wrong, that should be it. So these 3 animals would need to get like 2 or 3 new animations, okay? But I think combining those will give us a bit more freedom to build in them. So just put them next to each other, and then they will just create automatically a new path layout. And you've got 3 variants that you can click in the menu. Simple as that. And now we get to the last 2 points. The first one is just like a very cosmetic one, but I really would need this as like really full circle for the game. I think the lion has been the hero of the game from the beginning. Now let's make it the hero of the game at the end. it has to get a remaster officially from Frontier. We know that they are bonkers at doing big cats now, so let them just do the skill, and with the talent available right now, let them just do the Lion remaster. And then also, I think the second most important, if not the most important remaster, would be the Orangutan. Make sure they don't use the Gorilla Rig anymore. Make sure that you do finish that off with a proper Orangutan, including giving it a climbing rig animation and a fur shader update. And I'm not even talking about anything new. Just in the eyes of Frontier, to make it as simple as possible, it would be give him a new rig. That is important. That has to be like walking has to be changed, and give them variation in a way, make it slower, and add the fur shader that everyone else already has at this point. So that is that. Now, as you can see, this is the Orangutan rope climbing, and also the brand. Actually, this is the actual brand logo from Planet Coaster Levant 6. And now let's go into the extended animal pack, which is also extended in price because it's the last one, and it will also bring in more animals, as we will discuss now. So the new animals will be, and I'm just going to read out the list and then we talk about that: a whale shark, a hammerhead shark, a stingray, the emperor penguin, a walrus, the woolly spider monkey, the Hainan gibbon, I hope that I do pronounce that correctly, the condor, the eagle, the parrot, a snow owl, and the Mediterranean fish pools. Now, let's make it very easy. So first of all, I decided to go for a couple more full aquatic animals because we just brought in the update last time, so we need to fill it in. And I decided to go for the whale shark, the hammerhead shark, and the stingray. This is very easily described why I did this. The whale shark is just so beautiful for the tunnels as well. It's just such a insanely beautiful animal to look at. The hammerhead shark because it's critically endangered, and it definitely deserves a place in this game. As we speak so much about conservation and highlighting animals, it has to be in here. And the stingray because we needed a smaller ray. That's what it is, not doing anything else than that. And also maybe this will come in with a 1 meter deep water requirement. I think that would be cool too. Then we've got the walrus, and the emperor penguin. The walrus goes in because of fan favorite and in the list of most favorite animals that still need to get into game. And we also have the emperor penguin because it has been the first diving animal that actually should have been in the game, but has been changed to the king penguin. And I think it would be nice to have it in the game if they already have done it, maybe in the background anyways. Then we also have another very critically endangered animal with the woolly spider monkey and the Hainan gibbon too. So those two animals are also not doing too well in the wild, and this is why we need to have them in as well, and also because people would love to have more gibbon and monkeys in the game. Now, the next 4, I should say, are pretty much my solution to our bird problem. I think at this point it is obvious that we will not get a full flying mechanic in the game anymore, and I opted for the full aquatic instead. This was my solution, and I think you have to go either one of them, and so I decided to go for that. So birds cannot be a thing, but they can be a thing as walkthrough exhibit animal because it is a fixed animation thing. And the condor is the reason why I went for the combination of walkthrough exhibits, because the condor would require at least 2 exhibits combined with each other to make the animation loops functioning. It is a humongous animal, it's really big, and it needs some space to fly, so why not? And the other 3 will also just have more or less the same animation roots maybe, and then just maybe a couple of things changed. And due to the fact that we do have perch points and the null kind of loops, we can now style this our own way, so it doesn't even matter if the loops are pretty similar to each other. And the last but not least, we have the Mediterranean fish pools, which goes along with the other fish pools, the tropical fish pools, and I just thought, it would be nice to have some more fishies in there, just simple as that. And now let's go to the very last thing of today's video, the new item and features. So first of all, we are going to get a animal hammock enrichment, which I thought it would be a cool idea to get this in with the DLC because the monkeys can use it. With null footers means you can put this in an existing frame, for example, and the idea is it's just like a low-hanging hammock in which animals can jump in and relax for a bit, just like a little bit like the one the sloth has, but just like a bit more versatile, and it will get for most of the climbing animals. Then we will have the ability for staff members to be able to feed birds in the walkthrough exhibits. Granted, this is a feature that needs to go into the free update, but you would have known what I wanted to do, so I have hidden that from you and put that in here. Then we get the plankton VFX, which is an addition to our fish swarm VFX we already had for the whale shark. And we have the tree perch variants now, which is not the perch variants we talked about earlier. It will actually be some trees that do act like perching points and will be able to be plopped exactly in the position where the null perch points would be, so that you can actually hide them and make some tree variants in which those birds will land. Now, that's been a long video so far, but I really wanted to explain every single bit. I really hope you found it interesting so far. I just want to say that I really stretched the boundaries, and to be fair, I think it would technically be possible, and I think it would be possible if they have the dedication to do it, but it's really far off. There are a couple of things in here I do know that they would require quite a lot of work. For example, the diving mechanic of the staff members, but just delete 10% of it and it still would be absolutely saving the game, in my opinion, in my very personal opinion. And the outline of this will give modders the opportunity to extend the game for us to an extent that we will absolutely love it, because we can almost cover every single animal that we want. The moment they can change the models in the walkthrough exhibits, we will be able to put in basically every type of bird we want to. I mean, yeah, there will be still some small issues with, with the animation itself, or maybe they can do exhibit animations, who knows that. But the same goes also for the diving animals. I thought we are still missing out on a lot of fish and dolphin-like behavior, and with the given rigs of the whale shark, of the hammerhead shark, and the dolphins, you can pretty much do a lot of these animals, and you can also do a lot of ray kind of animals. So that was also part of my thinking behind, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. I certainly did enjoy making this. It took a lot longer than I expected, because I needed to juggle things forth and back to make it somewhat logic, how both of the updates would tie into each other. And you see, even though that this update is super chunky, there is not really that much more maintenance work to do, except maybe the rope climbing mechanism. But I really think that the rope climbing mechanism would be more like an enrichment and like a prefab thingy, and maybe they have like increments of the rope that you can't put this completely freely, but like in 1 meter steps, which would still be absolutely mad and cool. But then they could really make sure that the animation is already working and full stop here, So yeah, again, that's that. Now let me know in your comments down below, or in my comments, in the comment section down below, what would you change? How do you feel like? What is this? Would you go along with this? Would you be happy with this? Would you buy them both? Or if not, why? Please let me know. I'll be very much curious to see what you guys come up with. I've been really curating that for a long time. So yeah, now shoot in the comments. I'm gonna read all of them and let's discuss what would the absolute perfect packs. But until then, have a good time. Thank you for watching and goodbye.